You're listening to the Youth Critic podcast on KHZ Network. Find us on Facebook at DecibelUNG Radio and find us on Twitter at DecibelUNG. If you like this episode, please leave a like and comment on our iTunes page at KHZ Network. And now for the podcast.
Then there's this darn thing in front of you, and then you're in for it. You say, okay, yeah, I'll give it my best shot.
My mom, she got this thing with her brain. When I was a kid, I always thought she was like real tall, And now she's so tiny. Kind of freaks me out. So you're moving up there?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic Reacts. Just in case you haven't seen the Blind Spotting review, we are covering this week, and basically next week as well, we're going to be covering the films that premiered, or the films that I got to see at the Atlanta Film Festival this year, and yeah, yep, it's a really good lineup of movies, and we will get back to regular scheduled programming in the not-so-distant future. I have not forgotten about movies like Quiet Place, Blockers, and Rampage. We will get to them. I'm very much looking forward to them, and yeah, that's it. So for this episode, we are going to be looking at the movies I saw on Saturday, the 14th of April. And yeah, we're going to look at the three movies I saw, which were Never Steady, Never Still, Maynard, and then You42. And we'll get into what You42 is in a little bit. But for now, let's look at Never Steady, Never Still. So Never Steady, Never Still is about a mother who has been crippled by Parkinson's disease, and in cold forest Alberta, and she has to figure out how to get around, to do her group therapy sessions, to get her medicine and groceries. And in the midst of this, she has a son who is coming of age and is trying to find his own sexual identity and emotional identity in the midst of this. And it's not really a spoiler because they put it in the Atlanta Film Festival, or they put in the synopsis of the movie for Atlanta Film Festival, but her husband dies halfway through the movie, and that causes basically a ripple between both of them, because the character Judy, played brilliantly by Shirley Henderson, she wants her son to, be his own person and, have his own life, wherever that be. But her son feels committed after his dad has died to take the reins and help his mom around the house. So he's trapped, so he's torn between, living his own life in the brutal Alberta oil fields, or, helping his mother. And basically that is the conflict of the movie. And honestly, I think Kathleen Hepburn, the writer and director, does a brilliant job of conveying this conflict and, showcasing the struggle of having these issues, and being, and for the character Jamie, having those, thoughts, and having, that kind of pressure, on such a young person. And also having to look at his mother, this person of, power and figure, as this weak, aging older woman, as, someone who is, in need of his help all the time. So it's it is kind of miserable and dowering to look at. However, it's not misery porn, and I think there is, a great character study in both of these two characters, in Jamie and Judy, and honestly, I think this is still, after the whole weekend, this is still my second favorite movie from the film festival so far, right behind Blindspotting. I thought it was just incredible to watch. Shirley Henderson gives an Oscar-worthy performance. I mean, her commitment to the role is incredible. It's an enduring performance, and I, admire Kathleen Hepburn just, allowing us, the viewer, to, get immersed into that performance. So I highly, highly recommend Never Steady and Never Still. So the next film on the docket is Maynard.
I believe that politics is the last viable means of nonviolent social change for black people in this country.
So for Maynard, which is the documentary about the former Atlanta mayor, Maynard Jackson Jr., who ran the mayor office from, I can't remember the exact dates, but it was from this, but he ran it through the 70s and then did a third term in the 90s. And the documentary covers basically his whole life, and also the events that happened around, his terms during while he was mayor. And for me, I want to see 90 minutes to 2 hour long documentaries about the events surrounding Maynard Jackson Jr., because while I think Maynard Jackson Jr. did a lot of interesting things, and he did a lot of controversial things to help build Atlanta to what it is today, I feel like the movie itself doesn't quite make the subject as interesting as the events surrounding him. And because the events surrounding that happened during his Jackson's terms, to me, were way more compelling and way more, and I wanted to know more about them and how that all happened and how it all went down, versus what happened during, versus the subject himself, learning more about the subject himself. So while in the midst of this, I think it's a loving tribute to a really interesting character, and a loving dad, and a loving family member, and to an interesting character. It does just kind of feel like this is just a love letter to Jackson, and to the things he did to build Atlanta, for better or worse is debate. But honestly, I was more compelled by the election on his first term, the Atlanta child murders that happened during from 1979 to 1981, and then how he was very helpful in getting the Olympics to Atlanta, Georgia. Those are the things that I found more interesting than everything else in the movie, than the subject itself. So yes, it's a loving tribute, and I give the Jacksons, who were very instrumental in making the movie, and director Sam Paulin did a great job, directing the movie, or directing the documentary, and keeping everything aflow and steady and moving. But I would love to see Sam Paulin take on more of, some of the things that were in the movie more, and maybe even do a trilogy of, some of the events that happened around, Maynard Jackson as he was, the mayor. So with that, I'm going to give Maynard it's a good pass. It's not like a great pass, and but it's still a good documentary, and I can't wait to see more of what Sam Paulin does as a director. Now moving on to You42. So You42, or better yet, You42 presents Dead by Midnight, 11 p.m. Central, is the horror anthology series of films that play more like horror satires that get more and more intense with each passing film. And in terms of this anthology series, it's kind of goofy and it's kind of funny. And at times there's some really good production value. But other than that, I thought it was kind of... I know I'm still a college student, but I thought it was basically a bunch of college students got together to make make their student films and make an anthology horror series that was well made. And honestly, if that was the case, then good on them. But I thought a lot of it was amateurish and kind of just, not really that well done. It's fine if it was under the guise of these were student movies, but even then, I've seen student films that were at the Atlanta Film Festival that just looked way better and like a whole lot more interesting than this movie. So I won't get into like what each one of them were about, but it was an interesting event. I wish I would have seen or done something else, but but as Maynard was ending, and I was going to see the Orchard's American Animals, the problem was I just could not get to the theater where it was showing American Animals in time to go right after Maynard. So I was going to see American Animals. I just didn't I didn't think I was going to get to the theater in time because of traffic, and the theater was way down the road from the theater. So very unfortunately, but still I cannot. But still, I thought this was a nice little fun thing, and yeah, that's it. And that's it for my, for day 2 of the Atlanta Film Festival. Day 1 was Blind Spotting, and it was incredible. And it's been so far a good ride. U42 was just kind of was just a little bit of speed bump because tomorrow, or I guess day 3, was really filled with good stuff. Really filled with really good stuff. And that's all coming back tomorrow. So with that said, please check in about 30 minutes or so, and we'll be back with you soon for day 3, where we look at one short that I really liked, and then a couple other smaller movies, and then we look at... With that said, you can find me on Twitter at MovieKale, and you can also follow this podcast at the Youth Critic, and then please follow the channel that distributes this podcast at KHZ Network. And also, the more you comment and subscribe to our podcast, it just means much more that I can get into more fun stuff like this and can get to review more films in the future. So thank you, everyone, and we'll be back with you just in a little bit with some more ATLFF content.